How to answer behavioral questions. So, most interviewers, people believe there's an old saying that past behavior is a predictor of future behavior. And that's why most interviewers will focus a lot on behavioral questions. Most of the questions you're likely to get in an interview are behavioral questions, meaning they're going to ask you about some kind of scenario of the past. So one of the questions, some of the examples of behavioral questions are, tell me about a difficult situation at work, or tell me about a project that went off the rails and how you got back on track, or talk to me about your strengths and weaknesses. So all of these fit into that behavioral question scenario. And the best way to answer those is to give context, right? So what you want to do is obviously you want to keep your answer sharp and succinct. So I encourage people to use the SAO model, which is situation, action, outcome. There's also the STAR model, which is situation, task, action, result. Kind of amounts to the same thing. I use the SAO and encourage clients to remember the SAO because it's a 3-step process and the brain likes things in 3. But, if you use the STAR method, that's fine too. What it comes down to is describing the situation, quick context about the situation, the actions that you took, and the result. And one thing I want to say is that you don't always have to have a positive result, but you do have to demonstrate that there was a learning of some sorts. So sometimes you might be in a situation, for example, if they ask you the question, tell me about a difficult person you work with. Now, maybe that wasn't resolved initially. Maybe it took a few goes before you finally were able to resolve and have a better relationship with the person, the difficult person. But what you want to do is you want to give the situation, you want to give the actions you took to improve that situation with that difficult person, and then the result. Obviously, if it's a positive result and you're able to win the person over, well, that's great. But if it's not a positive, if you still had challenges, then you want to say something around the lesson you learned through that whole experience, because that's ultimately a positive as well. So it doesn't always have to end in a positive result. It does have to demonstrate that there's been some learning, some growth, because that's ultimately what behavioral questions are all about. The interviewer is trying to see, again, your level of self-awareness and also your ability to grow through to encounter a situation and grow through it. May not always get everything right. You may not always even get the result that you want. But as long as you can demonstrate that there's been some growth, that's what's going to appeal to an interviewer more. So don't be afraid of these behavioral questions. Stick with a simple method or framework. And as I said, I encourage the situation, action, outcome framework. What it really comes down to is quickly describing the situation, quickly listing 1 or 2 or 3 actions and the result of that. And if the result was a growth and a learning exercise, that's also good enough. Don't always feel like you have to constantly come up with a positive result. You need to demonstrate growth and personal development. So that's how you answer behavioral questions. I hope that's useful, and good luck.